Eat, Bumpy said, sliding the plate of ribs across the table. It was June 10th, 1963, at Small's Paradise. The restaurant was crowded, but everyone knew what was happening at table 7. The man sitting across from Bumpy was trembling so badly he could barely grip his fork. He was the one who had told the Italians where Bumpy's cash houses were, who helped the Genovese move into Harlem, who got rich while Bumpy counted days in Alcatraz. I said, eat, Bumpy repeated. This time, his hand moved toward his waistband, because this was the man's last meal. Marcus Smooth Henderson had run Harlem as if it belonged to him for 11 years. Every Tuesday and Friday night, he held court at Small's Paradise on 135th Street and 7th Avenue, the crown jewel of black nightlife in 1963. Smooth sat at table 7 in the back corner, surrounded by his crew, sipping French cognac and eating the finest ribs in New York City. He wore $400 Italian suits, drove a midnight blue Cadillac Eldorado, and lived in a penthouse near Mount Morris Park with a view of Central Park. He had 40 men on his payroll, 5 policy banks running numbers across Harlem, and the Genovese family's approval to operate as long as he paid his weekly tribute. Everything Smooth had was built on what Bumpy Johnson left behind: the connections, the structure, the respect. He took everything Bumpy created and claimed it as his own. For 11 years, while Bumpy wasted away in Alcatraz, Smooth slept peacefully until June 7th, 1963. That was the day Bumpy walked out of Alcatraz carrying everything he owned in a paper bag. He was 56 now, gray in his hair, 11 years older. But his eyes still held that cold, calculating calm, that unsettled, strong man. Bumpy didn't go home when he reached New York. He didn't hug his wife or rest after the 3-day train ride from San Francisco. He went straight to Junie Bird's apartment on 145th Street. Junie was waiting, 63 years old, grayed, loyal to the end. "Give me names," Bumpy said, without sitting down. Junie already had a list. For 11 years he had watched, listened, and kept score. He named 15 men who got rich while Bumpy was locked away, men who carved up his territory as if he were never coming back. One name made Bumpy's jaw tighten: Marcus Henderson. Smooth had once been Bumpy's protege, smart young hustler from 118th Street whom Bumpy took under his wing in 1947. Bumpy taught him the numbers game, showed him how to run policy banks, introduced him to the right people, and protected him when Dutch Schultz's old crew came looking for revenge. When Bumpy was arrested in 1952 for conspiracy, he trusted Smooth to keep things running, look after the organization, and send money to him. For 2 years, Smooth did exactly that. Then the money stopped. The letters stopped. According to Junie, Smooth had struck a deal with Vito Genovese. He gave up the locations of Bumpy's policy banks, exposed which cops were on Bumpy's payroll, revealed where the cash houses were, and in return, the Italians let him keep 125th Street. Bumpy spent 11 years in Alcatraz. Thinking about that betrayal, 11 years, planning what would come next. "Where does he eat?" Bumpy asked. "Small's Paradise," Junie said. Every Friday night, table 7 showed up at 9 o'clock sharp. Bumpy checked his watch. It was Friday, 6 p.m. Get me a table right next to his. By 8:45 p.m., Small's Paradise was filling up. The weekend crowd arrived: hustlers, musicians, working people spending their pay on good food and cold beer. A 3-piece jazz band warmed up in the corner. Waiters moved through the room carrying trays of fried chicken, collard greens, and cornbread. Bumpy Johnson walked in at 8:50 p.m. He wore the same charcoal gray suit he'd had on during the train ride from California. Worn and tired. His shoes were scuffed. He carried no weapon. Anyone could tell. He looked like a ghost, like a piece of Harlem's past stepping into its present. The restaurant didn't fall silent, but conversations shifted. Heads turned. Eyes followed him as he moved through the room. The old-timers knew him right away. Younger hustlers, who only knew the name from whispers, murmured to one another, "That's Bumpy Johnson. I thought he was dead. He got out of Alcatraz 3 days ago." Bumpy walked straight to table 8, right beside table 7. Junie Bird was already there, along with Willie Fish Jackson and Raymond Quick Lewis, 3 veterans who stayed loyal, 3 men who remembered Harlem when Bumpy ruled it. Bumpy sat with his back against the wall, facing the entrance, an old habit. Never turning your back on the door. At exactly 9 p.m., Marcus "Smooth" Henderson walked in. Smooth was 38, wearing a cream-colored suit, a burgundy tie, diamond rings on 3 fingers, and a gold watch. 4 men came with him, bodyguards who looked well-fed. Smooth was laughing, holding court, acting like he owned the place. In truth, he owned the protection that kept Small's Paradise free from police raids. Smooth's crew headed toward table 7. That's when Smooth saw Bumpy. He stopped mid-step. The color drained from his face. His bodyguards noticed and followed his stare. When they saw Bumpy Johnson sitting there, calm as a Sunday morning, their hands drifted toward their waistbands. Bumpy didn't move. He didn't react. He simply stared at Smooth with those cold, hollow eyes. "Marcus," Bumpy said softly, his voice carrying through the room. "Come sit with me." It wasn't a question. Smooth's bodyguards stiffened. One of them, a thick-necked enforcer named Leon, stepped forward. "Mr. Henderson, don't." Junie Bird stood up. He was 63 and looked harmless, but the .45 automatic in his hand said otherwise. "Sit down," Junie said quietly. Suddenly, guns appeared everywhere. Smooth's 4 bodyguards had hands inside their jackets. Junie held his .45. Willie Jackson pulled a sawed-off shotgun from beneath the table. Quick Lewis aimed a revolver at Leon's chest. The restaurant locked up. The jazz band stopped playing. Waiters backed toward the kitchen. Customers slid under tables. Bumpy Johnson didn't even blink. "Tell your boys to go home, Marcus," Bumpy said. "This is between you and me." Smooth's mouth opened and closed. His hands shook. He looked at his bodyguards, at the guns, at Bumpy's.com. Terrifying face. "Go," Smooth whispered. "Boss," Leon began. "I said go." The bodyguards backed toward the door, hands still near their weapons. Cars fixed on Junie's .45. They didn't want to leave, but they didn't want to die in Small's Paradise on a Friday night. When they were gone, Bumpy nodded toward the empty chair across from him. "Sit." Marcus Henderson sat. Bumpy motioned to a waiter. The young man approached cautiously, avoiding eye contact. "Bring us a plate of ribs," Bumpy said. "The good ones, and 2 glasses of bourbon." The waiter hurried away. The restaurant was completely silent now. 250 people frozen, watching table 8 like it was a stage. Even the kitchen had stopped. Everyone understood what was happening. Everyone knew this moment mattered. The food arrived. The waiter set down a full plate of ribs, steaming and covered in sauce, and 2 glasses of bourbon. Then he vanished. Bumpy slid the plate toward Smooth. "Eat," he said. Smooth stared at the ribs as if they were poisoned. "I'm not hungry, Bumpy. Listen, I can explain." "Eat," Bumpy repeated, "because this is your last meal." That was when Smooth realized the truth. This wasn't a discussion. This wasn't bargaining. This was an execution in front of witnesses. "Bumpy, please," Smooth said, his voice breaking. "I did what I had to do to survive. You." They were gone. The Italians were taking everything. "I made a deal to save the organization." "You made a deal to save yourself," Bumpy said calmly. "You handed over my policy banks, my collectors, my foundation. You told Genovese everything, then kept the money that should have gone to my wife." Tears streamed down Smooth's face. "I was going to fix it. Swear. I was waiting for you to come home." "I've been home for 3 days, Marcus," Bumpy said. "You didn't come see me. You didn't send word. You didn't send money to May to make up for 11 years of nothing. Okay. Bumpy leaned forward. You thought I was never coming back. You thought you got away with it? Please, Bumpy, I'll give it all back. The money, the territory, everything. I don't want it back from you, Bumpy replied. I'm taking it back from you. There's a difference. Bumpy's hand moved to his waistband, but he didn't draw a gun. He pulled out a straight razor, the same one he'd carried since 1935, the same blade that had sliced Dutch Schultz's enforcer from ear to ear in a Bronx warehouse, the same steel that convinced Lucky Luciano to let Bumpy operate independently in Harlem. Bumpy unfolded the razor slowly. The metal caught the light. You know what the Romans used to do to traitors? Bumpy asked casually. They made them eat their last meal. Then they executed them in public so everyone could see what happens when you betray your emperor. Smooth was breathing hard now, eyes fixed on the razor. I'm no Roman emperor, Bumpy continued, but I am Harlem. And everyone in this room needs to understand something. He raised his voice so all of Small's Paradise could hear. When I went to Alcatraz, some of you forgot who built this, forgot whose streets these are, forgot that respect isn't taken, it's earned. He stared straight at Smooth. Marcus Henderson forgot. So now Marcus Henderson is going to help me remind everyone. Bumpy stood. Smooth tried to run, but Junie was behind him instantly. A gun pressed into his back. Stand up, Bumpy ordered. Smooth stood, his legs shaking so badly he could barely stay upright. Bumpy walked around the table until he faced the man who betrayed him. With the entire restaurant watching, Bumpy lifted the razor to Smooth's throat knot to kill. But to mark dot, in one swift motion, Bumpy cut a thin line across Smooth's left cheek. Not deep, just enough to scar. Enough so everyone in Harlem would know Marcus Henderson as the man who betrayed Bumpy Johnson. Smooth screamed. Blood ran down his face, staining his cream-colored suit. That's so you remember, Bumpy said quietly. Every time you look in the mirror, you'll see that scar, and everyone who sees you will know what you did. Bumpy folded the razor and slipped it back into his pocket. You have 24 hours to leave Harlem, Bumpy said. Take what you can carry. Leave the rest. If I see you after tomorrow night, I won't be this generous. He turned to the room. The rest of you, Bumpy Johnson, is back. The rules are the same as they've always been. Pay what you owe. Keep your word. Protect your people. Anyone who wants to test me, know where to find me. Bumpy Johnson walked out of Small's Paradise at 9:47 p.m. on June 10, 1963. He left Marcus Anderson bleeding at table 7 and 250 witnesses who would spread the story across Harlem by morning. By sunrise, every hustler, policy banker, and street soldier in Harlem knew the king was back. Marcus Smooth Henderson was on a bus to Philadelphia by noon. He never returned. The scar on his face became his mark, a permanent reminder of what happens when you betray a king. Within 72 hours, 3 other men who had carved up Bumpy's territory quietly vanished from Harlem. They weren't killed, just gone, relocated with a clear message: stay away or join Smooth. The Genovese family, who had moved into Harlem while Bumpy was locked up, sent a captain to negotiate. The meeting lasted 4 minutes. Bumpy's terms were simple: 2 weeks to leave Harlem. Everything north of 110th Street was his again, non-negotiable. The Italians left without argument. They had already lost 3 soldiers trying to hold Bumpy's old territory in the previous week. Fighting him cost more than it paid. Within 6 months, every piece of Bumpy's empire was back under his control, not through war, not through bloodshed, but through fear, respect, and calculated power. The night at Small's Paradise became Harlem legend. Old-timers still talk about how Bumpy didn't need an army or speeches. He walked into a restaurant, faced his betrayer, and with 1 razor and 250 witnesses, reminded everyone who truly ran Harlem. You can lock a man up for 11 years. You can steal his money, take his territory, turn his people against him. But you can't take his throne out if he's a real king. Bumpy Johnson proved something that night. Power isn't about who has the most guns. It's about who commands the most respect. And respect isn't given. It's earned through loyalty, intelligence, and the will to do what others won't when justice demands it. Marcus Henderson betrayed him for money. The Italians challenged him for territory. Every traitor thought Bumpy was finished. They all learned the same lesson. Bumpy Johnson doesn't make threats. He makes promises. He keeps every one of them. That's why they called him the Godfather of Harlem. If this story of loyalty, power, and street justice moved you, hit the subscribe button. Drop a like if you understand that real kings don't need crowns, they need respect. Share this with someone who knows betrayal always has a price. What would you have done in Bumpy's position? Let me know in the comments below.